Ooh, suddenly soundtracks are here to provide you. Suddenly soundtracks will show you care. Oh, be more the soundtrack inside you with sweet understanding. Oh, with sweet understanding. With sweet understanding. Soundtracks are your friend. Welcome, guys, to yet another episode of Suddenly Soundtracks, the show on Take 3 where we dissect a movie song by song and judge a movie solely based on the soundtrack that it provides. First, we will dissect the entire movie, song by song, and give our rating of each song out of 10. Then we will rank each song from worst to best, then give an overall average of our scores. In the end, my final verdict will be given, and it will either be not rockin', scratched disc, one-time listen, download the soundtrack, or rockin' for the best of the best. I am joined today by actually the two winners of my little drawing that I did for who liked and commented on the previous episode of La La Land. Now, sadly, Cameron Holtzman could not make it today. He had prior obligations, so we are going to be doing a different movie with him in the future, which we will announce soon. But to replace his spot, I have Mr. Robert Parker. How are you doing, Robert? Do you love this movie, Hercules?
I am doing great. I love this movie, Hercules. It's in my top 5 Disney movies. It's maybe even in my top 3 of Disney movies. I love this movie. I like a vast majority of the soundtrack. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm absolutely happy to be here.
Awesome, and I also have Mr. Brooklyn Vail, who also won this contest, and Brooklyn is a great guy. We just had him on this week's reaction with Mark Bernardin and Lon Harris. Brooklyn, how are you doing, and what do you think of Hercules?
I'm very excited to break down Hercules. From a musical standpoint, very well arranged. There's a lot of childhood memories for myself. I saw it at a young age, and it has a very nostalgic feel. So I'm glad that I can review it with Robert and yourself and just break it down piece by piece.
We got to do that indeed. Now, we are doing Disney's Hercules, one of the seminal gospel musical pieces of the 90s, part of the Disney Renaissance. So without further ado, this is Disney's Hercules.
Coming to video in 1998, the fun-filled classic that critics are calling the most entertaining movie of the year.
Join the celebration.
Disney's 35th animated classic, Hercules.
What was that name again?
Hercules!
Hercules!
Hercules.
Honey, you mean Hercules. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean Hercules is very popular name.
The mighty Hercules.
What you folks need is a hero.
Phil.
Whoa, baby!
Pegasus. Meg.
Have a nice day.
Hades.
Whoa, is my hair out?
And Pain and Panic.
Coming, you most lugubriousness!
All your favorite characters in this great Disney classic filled with monumental adventure and outrageous fun.
Watch it! Keep your Google eyes on the... Ooh, Chihuahua. Ugh, I got a fur wedgie.
You can own the smash hit of the summer on video for the very first time.
Susie, I am home.
Disney's 35th animated classic, Hercules.
We dance, we kiss, we schmooze, we carry on, we go home happy. What do you say? Come on.
Coming to video in February 1998.
Alright guys, let's dive right into this movie. Hercules starts off with a great prologue introduction by none other than Charlton Heston.
There was a golden age of powerful gods and extraordinary heroes. And the greatest and strongest of all these heroes was the mighty Hercules,
who actually played Hercules in his previous in the 60s. And it's really cool, and it goes into this song, the first song of the actual film, called The Gospel Truth.
Back when the world was new, the planet Earth was down on its luck, and everywhere gigantic brutes called Titans ran amok.
I enjoy The Gospel Truth for what it is as an opening number. I think it leaves some to be desired. I do really like the song. I like the characters of the muses, who are the 5 women who narrate through music the vast majority of this movie, really. I like the exposition through music. I don't really like just the tons of exposition right off the bat, but the fact that they are able to do it in a really catchy beat through music, I can appreciate what the song is trying to do, but it doesn't get me incredibly instantly wrapped like I think an opening number, you know, in maybe like a Lion King or a couple other Disney movies scored by Alan Menken. I think there are a couple other that do it better, but I still can appreciate The Gospel Truth for what it is.
The Gospel Truth basically establishes, he's right, the opening of the film, which establishes the whole Greek landscape, the background of Zeus, the troubled times that Greece has been in before, the ages before the story is told. It establishes the Titans, it establishes everything you need to know, and it does it really well in my opinion. But Brooklyn, what are your thoughts on The Gospel Truth?
I'm going to agree with Robert and say that there have been a lot of Disney films that have done that have had a better opening song. Yes, the explanation of the story and the introduction itself is okay, but from a musical standpoint, I don't understand the pitch or the key they're trying to go with. There's some chord patterns that don't really make sense to me, and this is just a personal taste. I don't like the vast contrast in I believe it's the tallest singer to the shortest singer. The shortest singer has a very rough and raspy voice, whereas the tallest singer has like a very clear voice. I don't mind a little bit of raspy, but I just found it too raspy for myself. But otherwise else, like story-wise, it's great, but musically, not the greatest.
I love the short one. She has a great voice and she has a really good attitude. Oh yeah, amen, sister. But yeah, I get what you're saying, and that's a very good point about the vocals in this opening number are really good. The harmonies are really good. Some of the design choices kind of will put people off a little bit, just because it has a very Art Deco kind of Pink Floyd-ish kind of design that's really, really unique to Disney itself. But Brooklyn, I'm going to go back to you. What do you give The Gospel Truth Part 1?
I give the Gospel Truth Part 1, I give it 5 Pain and Panics.
Wow, you give it 5 Pain and Panics out of 10. That's pretty damn low. Robert, I'm going to go to you. What do you give The Gospel Truth Part 1?
I mean, it's a little bit awkward, but yeah, I also gave it 5 Pain and Panics. Yeah, I also gave the opening number 5.
It's pretty interesting that this is the opening number, and this is the lowest scoring opening number I think I've seen from guests, because I'm the complete opposite. I love this so much, and how it builds up, the last part builds up to what will be the motif, which is Go the Distance. And you see the title. So I actually gave it 9 Pain and Panics out of 10 because I love it so much. This is one of my favorite opening numbers. And then after the first part of The Gospel Truth, it's established that Zeus and Hades, who was voiced by, what's his name?
James Woods.
James Woods.
James Woods, indeed. And he really embodies Hades. James Wood really embodies Hades. And it's established that Hades has a loathing for Zeus. And so Hades concocts a plot. But not before the muses kind of reprise The Gospel Truth into Part 2, which kind of describes who Hades is, where he lives, and what most people consider one of the best Disney villains of all time, what his motivations truly are. And this Gospel Truth that kind of is very eerie. A lot of death is seen. Hell basically appears.
He ran the underworld
but thought the dead were dull and uncouth.
I mean, for like a 45-second song, it's good. It's a very nice. Like I agree with you. It's a very eerie kind of feel. It introduces the villain quite well.
Robert, this is the second stanza of A Gospel Truth. What are your thoughts on it?
See, I'm not actually a huge fan of Gospel Truth 2. I'm a big fan of showing, not telling in movies, and that's one part. Like I love Hercules, but that's one part that I think the movie gets a little tied up, is with the muses just speaking too much and trying to tell the story instead of just showing it on screen. So like the visuals that we see during Gospel Truth of Hades roaming through hell, he throws the stake to his dog and all these kind of things, and he fireballs a guy who's trying to climb up. I think these are great things to show in a villain, and I think it introduces the villain well, but I didn't really see the need for another song here besides to just have, let's have the muses sing again. I think they could have done that scene with some more James Woods dialogue and gotten the essence of the character even better without needing the song.
Indeed, I kind of am actually on the same wavelength as both of you. I feel like this part of the Gospel Truth was kind of unnecessary. And I feel like they could have had a more original song to introduce Hades than just rehash the thematic music. Just rehash the theme and the motifs from the intro that we just heard. It's weird to have a reprise right after your opening number, which acts as a reprise to the opening number, which would stand by itself. Kind of awkward. I'm giving Gospel Truth Part 2 8 Pain and Panics out of 10. Robert, what do you give the second part of Gospel Truth?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Chris, on the whole. It's weird to have a reprise to an opening number 5 minutes after your opening number. Yeah. So I was not a huge fan, but I gave the Gospel Truth 2 the same 5 Pain and Panics out of 10 that I gave the original.
Beautiful.
The first one.
Brooklyn, you know my question. What did you give the Gospel Truth Part 2?
I had it ranked a little bit higher than Part 1. I gave it a 6.5 Pain and Panics out of 10.
And then, well, Hercules does get kidnapped by Pain and Panic, and it fails. It really fails. They don't give him the last drop of the liquid, and he still retains his power, but they try to keep that from Hades. And then he's found by his two parents, and Zeus and his mother are really, really going crazy. They want to find their son, and when they do, they kind of realize that it's too late. He's already settled into his life. In the Gospel Truth Part 3, this is all established. Again, kind of beating it over the head through lyrics with you what is happening in a not so creative way, which makes the Gospel Truth Part 3, I feel, the weakest, because I feel like this could have been a more interesting number if it was kind of more original in its kind of musical themes and not rehash again the intro a third time. This is 2 reprises after your opening number. It's making it seem like in the first 10 minutes it's getting a little bit repetitive. Brooklyn, what are your thoughts on the Gospel Truth Part 3?
They do some great things here, musically wise. They kind of find their place, and I think it's a good setup for the next song ahead. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about it.
I'm actually in the same boat as Chris on this one. I think this is the weakest of the 3. I think, the first one, it's decent. It's a pretty good opening number. But then the second one is just like, 5 minutes later, here's that same thing again. And that's what the third one is. 10 minutes later after that one, it's another reprise of the original. Yeah. It's like, hey, let's go listen to that thing again. I think that the muses play an important role, especially in a song later in the movie that we'll talk about soon. But as far as the first 15 minutes, I think it's a whole lot of exposition through a whole lot of the same exact song that isn't great to begin with. So I'm not a huge fan of Gospel Truth 3.
This is like a 6.5 Pain and Panics for me. Robert, what's your score?
Yeah, I'm even a little bit lower than that. I gave the first 2 both 5s. This one's at a 4.5. I think it's just under the first 2. I think it's 4.5 Pain and Panics.
Indeed. All right, Brooklyn, you're the one who loves this one. Let's hear it.
I just gave it a 7 Pain and Panics.
After the Gospel Truth is over, the three parts, we are introduced to now a teenaged Hercules who is a misfit in his community. And he goes home and he realizes that I feel like I'm not who I'm supposed to be. And he kind of runs away he tells his family he is leaving. And he leaves home trying to find himself. And he sings what is considered one of the seminal, it's like Out There from Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's him finding himself, knowing that he doesn't belong, but he's going to find his place in society. One of those kind of Disney numbers that really hits home to everybody in a song called Go the Distance.
I have often dreamed of a far-off place where a great warm welcome will be waiting for me.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. I just need to double check here. Roger Barth as the voice of Hercules does a great rendition of Go to the Distance. Also musically, they do something pretty neat. During the chorus, they don't go to the bass chord until so for me that kind of creates some suspense.
Yeah.
As a little bit, like you want to continue on with it and kind of see where it goes. But yeah, as kind of a sort of like a motivational song of the movie, it's phenomenal.
If I can be strong, I know every mile will be worth my while.
Go the Distance might be my favorite Disney song. I think what it does musically, the vocals, the impact it has on the story, the just pure raw emotion behind both the lyrics and the way it's sung. I think this is a brilliant song. It starts with him skipping rocks and he's just like, man, these are my dreams. These are my dreams. I don't know how to attain them, but I know that I'm meant for something more. And then as you get further and further along in the song, there's even an interlude where he goes to his earthly parents and he says, "Oh, I was adopted, what?" And they tell him to go to Zeus's pantheon. But man, it's just, and then at that moment he realizes, okay, this is what I'm meant to be. I'm on my way. I can go the distance. I don't care how far it is. I will do this. I'm determined. And that is just thematically and for the story and for the emotion of the character, this is huge. Plus, it's a really catchy song.
It's a really good, catchy song. All right. Go the Distance, Robert. What do you give this?
Yeah.
Go the Distance is a perfect 10. 10 out of 10 Pain and Panics, by far.
Brooklyn, do I have to ask?
It's a 9 Pain and Panics. It is an excellent song, but it is not my favorite of the movie.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, for me too, I'm giving it 9. It's a fantastic song. I love it, but it's not my favorite. I actually prefer Gospel to the introduction song. It's fantastic, but this is also really good. And for me, I kind of just it makes me stick to what I said earlier, that I'm comparing this to Out There, which I consider a better song. So it also kind of knocks it down a little bit, just because it has that same vibe. You guys know what I mean? But it's still fantastic, and it's a classic for a reason. Yeah. Then he does go to Zeus. He's introduced to Pegasus, and then he realizes he does belong somewhere, into an uplifting reprise of Go the Distance.
The odds, I can go the distance. I will face the world, fearless, proud, and strong.
And this one is even more optimistic than the last one, which he's searching for himself. This is where he has confidence that he can be something now, 100%. Brooklyn, what are your thoughts on the reprise of Go the Distance?
I believe it carries on the same thing that its predecessor did. Continues on with that same path they were going. They stay in that key of C that they transitioned to during the first song. You hear these beautiful horns, the beautiful fanfare, or the motif, I guess you would call it, as he's flying up with the Pegasus. But yeah, again, it just carries on what the previous song built.
So I love Go the Distance reprise as well. I think Chris kind of hit it on the head about if the first Go the Distance is about him having these hopes and these dreams of like being a hero and being somebody and having an impact on people's lives, this is really where he has found his purpose in life, his sole purpose to be a hero. He's met his father. He wants to reclaim, what was taken from him, which was where he lived. He wants to return home. And that's just awesome from a musical standpoint. I love how the reprise starts, which is as him flying out of the building, and there's just this beautiful like do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, and it's just this awesome build up, and then he just hits that note hard just right where he left off and Go the Distance, and it is brilliant. I love the reprise. I think it does just as much for the story as far as him finding his purpose as the first one did.
Indeed. And Robert, since I'm on you right now, what do you give Go the Distance's reprise?
I think the Go the Distance reprise is 9.5 out of 10 Pain and Panics. I think it's just under the first one in the sense that's a little bit shorter. It is a really short piece. Yeah. It's just really him flying through the clouds, and that's about it. So I could have had more. I could have had another verse in there besides just, okay, the refrain again, and then we're going to be done. So, but still, 9.5 Pain and Panics.
100%. Brooklyn, what do you give the reprise?
I agree with Robert. It's just a little bit less for me. I give it 8.5 Pain and Panics. I feel like with this reprise, he could have maybe taken a little more vocal risk, try and increase his range. But other than that, like, I have no complaints. It's a phenomenal addition.
150%. I also feel like the reprise has a lot. I love energy in songs, and the reprise has so much energy compared to the first one. And even though those problems I agree with, the energy in this song kind of bops it back up for me. So I gave it 9 out of 10 Pain and Panics, again, like the first one. They're both on par with me, and it's a very solid reprise. Before that song, Zeus instructed Hercules to find Philatites, who was voiced by the fantastic Danny DeVito. Perfectly casted, by the way. And Phil is reluctant to train Hercules at first. And it's established through this song called One Last Hope. Phil is a failed trainee of all the gods of Zeus. And he looks at Hercules and has very, very strong pessimism. He's very pessimistic about, oh, this guy's going to fail just like the rest of them. And over the course of this song, he builds Hercules up. And that pessimism turns into optimism.
My dreams are on you, Tate. Go make them come true. Climb that uphill slope. Keep pushing that envelope.
Once again, I love this song. I didn't realize until I got older that Danny DeVito voiced Phil. I agree with you. A spot-on casting. Yeah. A very good training song. His low raspiness kind of it works well with the contrast of, I believe, the higher woodwindy instruments in the piece. But yeah, like you see the things that he puts Hercules through, and to me it's right up there with Hakuna Matata in terms of like this transitional montage of songs.
Indeed, I actually like how you kind of compare that to Hakuna Matata. That's exactly right. He also has that kind of vocal quality, kind of Harvey Fierstein has, that even though his voice isn't the best for singing, it still works because of the charisma that he exudes. Rob, what are your thoughts on Our Last Hope?
I also really, really like this song. Once again, I'm just going to echo spot on casting. Like, fantastic. I love the character of Phil. I love his motivations. I mean, before this song, we learn that, like, if Hercules' purpose is to return to Olympus, to get back to his family, his home, to, find a place where he belongs, Phil's purpose is to have people recognize him as somebody who helps other people achieve what they want. He wants somebody to look at this guy and say, oh man, that's Phil's boy. Like that's what he wants. And I think, as far as like the title of the song, this is his one last shot. This is his shot at redemption. This is what he wants. I think One Last Hope is the best training montage ever put to film. Forget Rocky IV. Forget Big Hero 6. Like, I think this is the best. Forget Batman Begins. This is the best training montage ever put to film. And then there is one more line that I actually really like when Phil's talking about how being a hero, it's not just about being big and strong and just saving people. It's a work of heart. It's a work of art. It's not something that is just can be trained at. You can't lift weights to become a hero. It's really something that you have to find inside yourself, which is really good foreshadowing for a song that comes later on in the film.
Yes, indeed it does. I'm actually going to disagree with these guys a little bit on the actual song itself. I don't like the song. I like how Danny DeVito performs it. It works for the context. And the montage is really, really, really good. It's up there with Rocky. The problem is, for me, the song just doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't. Like, whoop-dee-doo, boo-boo. It has this kind of, when you compare it to the other styles of song in this movie, it kind of just is jarring a little bit. I don't know. It kind of just feels that way to me. It's not gospel whatsoever. There's another song down the line that's not gospel either, but is really, really good. This one isn't on that level for me, and I can't really give One Last Hope more than a 7, so I'm giving it 7 Pain and Panics out of 10, not because it's bad, but just because it's not up to par with everything we've heard previously, in my opinion, especially the opening number and Go the Distance. But, Rob, since I'm on you right now, what do you give Our Last Hope?
Sure, so I have Our Last Hope, or One Last Hope. I have One Last Hope at an 8 Pain and Panics out of 10. I really like what it does thematically for the story to get introduce Phil as a character. Really, it's a great training montage. And I disagree with Chris a little bit. I think the song is incredibly memorable on the "So You Wanna Be a Hero, Kid." Like I think it's just really memorable and catchy. It's not the same style as everything we've heard before, as sort of this like big operatic gospel kind of thing, but I still think that Danny DeVito owns this, so I have 8.
He owns it indeed. I'm not going to take anything from Danny. Brooklyn, what do you give One Last Hope?
I agree with Robert. I gave it 8 Pain and Panics out of a 10. I think it's kind of a nice palate cleanser, I guess, in terms of a musical. It has that like scatty jazz, like wobbity bop doo doo vibe. So yeah, I think in that terms, it's great. It really kind of exposes Phil as a character, and again, a great training transitional montage.
Indeed, and that's the glory of film and music. Opinions always differ. It's not a bad song by any stretch of the imagination. But moving on, we go into a bit of a song dead zone. This is what I call the song dead zone, where there's a lot of plot that happens, but there's like a solid 15 minutes of no songs. There's a lot of good score, but no songs until you get to Hercules kind of proving himself to the townspeople. You see, in this song dead zone, Hades finds out that Hercules is not mortal. He kind of pretty much Pain and Panic effed up, and Hades sticks a giant dragon on him, a Medusa dragon with all these heads, and Hercules saves these townspeople that were treating him like crap, saves them from this thing, and he's been branded a hero. And we go into what this movie is known for: Zero to Hero.
Yeah. Bless my soul. Herc was on a roll. Person of the week in every Greek opinion poll.
To me, this is my favorite of the movie. I think musically they take the roots that they really kind of set in the beginning with this gospel kind of trend, gospel and very royalty, very horn heavy songs, and they take it to 11. When they transition from the horny gospel to I'm trying to remember the transition, but they changed from one key and then they changed to G, and it's like this super gospel heavy, like you want to put your hands up in the air and say hallelujah. But yeah, like that song gets you going, and like just the the scenery itself really does the song justice for me. So yeah, it's my favorite song because it just gets you going, and you want to tap your toes, you want to put the hands up in the air.
Yeah, I actually have to disagree with Brooklyn a little bit. This is definitely. I do like Zero to Hero. I definitely think, obviously that's what this movie is. It's probably what its most famous song is. It shouldn't be, in my opinion. I think there are tons of songs that are more iconic than this one. But where I really think this one does shine is musically, because it does have that whole, it is such a gospel vibe. We bring the muses back to tell more story, to tell more, now that Hercules has defeated the Hydra, he took out one foe. Here's a montage of him taking out 16 of them all at once while Hades is trying to foil his plan. I just think, he's fighting one monster, he just did it, he's being carried off by the crowd, yay, and then 2 minutes later after song, he's suddenly like the richest guy in town and everybody's got his merchandise, and it makes for some funny bits, some funny jokes, but I don't think, I think it moves a little bit too quickly. There's a quote that I'm going to quote from, it's a Zeus quote. There's a Zeus quote that happens earlier in the film that says, a true hero isn't measured by the size of his strength, but by the strength of his heart. And that's really what I think the movie Hercules is about finding strength within yourself, finding the hero within yourself. And I think that's not something that happens in this song. I think we see Hercules being famous, but he's losing sight of his mission. And that's why we don't get a payoff until later, but that's why I think this song ranks a little bit lower for me.
That's an interesting reason for you. This song to me is so feel good, so Disney, and this song is so synonymous with this movie. You can't really take those goggles off. I love the feeling of this song. This song makes me feel good when I listen to it. The key changes, like Brooklyn was talking about, are phenomenal. And it's just a joy to listen to and watch. And if you're listening it solely based on the soundtrack and not judging it by its placement in the movie, it's a killer gospel tune. So I am giving Zero to Hero. I'm not giving it anything less than 10 Pain and Panics out of 10. Since I'm on you, Robert, let's hear your controversial rating.
It's not that controversial. I still have Zero to Hero as an 8 out of 10. Okay. It's still a great song. It's a great feel-good song. We're judging on its soundtrack, so I still think it's an amazing song. It's still very well composed, very well performed.
It really is. Brooklyn, what's your favorite song of the movie rated?
I wonder what it would be. 10 out of 10 Pain and Panics. Just again, the most recognizable song to somebody who, if you went onto the street, like, hey, can you name a Hercules song? Just like, it'd probably be Zero to Hero. So again, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Even if you ask somebody on the street, name a Disney song, they might say Zero to Hero. Literally. That's synonymous with Disney.
Absolutely.
And then we get into a really, really good one. We were introduced earlier in the movie. I didn't go over it, but this woman named Meg, who turns out to be the love interest to Hercules and has this guilty kind of connection to Hades. And she kind of is realizing that after he saved her from this centaur kind of thing with hooves, that she has feelings for Hercules.
No chance, no way, I won't say it, no. Give up or give in. Check the green, you're in love. This scene won't play, I won't say I'm in love. You're doing this, great Arlen's, you're in love.
This movie is all gospel. And then we get to this song and it turns into gospel Motown, which is really kind of creative because it has a very Jackson 5 kind of vibe, because the Jackson 5 had this feel too, with kind of gospel mixed with Motown.
I completely agree with you. It's a nice change from the very fast upbeat Zero to Hero to this very mellowed down Motown vibe of I Won't Say I'm in Love. I personally think it's the best use of the muse. The muse really give this really nice support to Susan Egan's vocal performance. She has a very high range, and to see them kind of take a back seat and really give some nice harmonies, some nice counter melodies. Again, a great counter to the upbeat of Zero to Hero, but a very slow Motown.
Yep. And it has a very Ronettes feel to it too as well, which I really love. Robert, your thoughts on I Won't Say I'm in Love?
Yeah, I love this song. Absolutely love it. I Won't Say I'm in Love. I think, honestly, might be the single most underrated Disney song, ever. I think this song is fantastic. It is by far the best use of the muses in the movie, just with the little shoo-doo, shoo-doo, shoot, in the background, the The backup, the music's backup to Meg's singing is just fantastic. I love this song. Great placement in the film, great story. Placement with her falling for Hercules. I think it is absolutely, undoubtedly one of the best songs on the soundtrack. Undoubtedly one of the best Disney songs. I Won't Say I'm in Love is by far a 10 out of 10. I think this is fantastic. It is iconic as much as Zero to Hero is synonymous with Disney as a brand and with Hercules as a movie. This song is synonymous with the character of Meg, and it is just beautiful music.
It's really good. And yeah, to me, like, she's kind of forgettable in just the sense that she kind of just feels like she's a MacGuffin to what happens later on. She never really seems like she's really mandatory for the actual story this film is trying to convey. But that aside, for me, I Want to Say I'm in Love, I'm giving 10 out of 10. Pain and Panic's easy. Brooklyn, I'm going over to you. What do you give I Want to Say I'm in Love?
I agree in the sense that it is a sorry, I can't talk today. It is a phenomenal song. Though I will give it 9 Pain and Panics out of 10, just because Zero to Hero to me is the better of the two, kind of yin and yang, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And again, this movie is a very interesting musical. Like, if this were adapted to a stage play, they would have to add more songs, because after I Want to Say I'm in Love, you get nothing until the finale. You really get nothing until the finale. Hades is defeated. Hercules realizes that he was betrayed by Meg, and then they reconcile. And then he sees his father again. And we're treated to this song called A Star Is Born.
Shout it from the mountain tops. A star is born. It's a time for pulling out the stars.
This is an even more feel-good song than Zero to Hero, because this is the finale. Everybody is happy, and it just makes you want to get out of your seat and cheer. Brooklyn, I'm going to stick on you. What are your thoughts on A Star Is Born?
Again, I'll have to agree that it's a great closing number. Very resolving. Very nice piano heavy. I believe it's in the key of B flat.
B flat is amazing. That's why I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Some of the best gospel is in that key. But yeah, like to me it's good, but it's not great. To me it's actually it's more of a forgettable. Like I have a hard time recalling it myself. Like, other than listening to it to prepare for this. I'm finding it a hard time to keep it in the back of my head.
I really like A Star Is Born for the most part. I'm a little bit, I edge a little bit toward the side of Brooklyn on the fact that this song continues into the credits. And the credits portion of the song is really unmemorable, and it basically just repeats the exact same thing that it just did in context, of the actual film. So I don't really like, even just as far as the music is concerned, I don't really like the second half. It doesn't bring a lot of new to a pretty long song. But as for the first part of it, before we go into the credits, I think it's wonderful. It has story elements in it. You know, Hercules is reunited with his Earth parents. There's the moment there's the "That's Phil's boy" moment, and where Phil's crying. Like, it's a wonderful song. As far as gospel, it's not the best gospel song in the movie, but it's not the worst gospel song in the movie. It just gets a little bit unmemorable once you get into the credits.
It is what it is. I love this song to death. I'm giving it 9 Pain and Panics out of 10. Rob, since I'm on you, what do you give A Star Is Born?
I have A Star Is Born at 7 Pain and Panics out of 10, so I still have it at a pretty high ranking, but I also think that it leaves a little bit to be desired.
I see your points. Brooklyn, let me have it.
I agree with Robert that it is a solid song for the most part. I have ranking a little bit higher, a 7.5 out of 10. I think musically it's sound, but lyric wise and in terms of the story, it's kind of forgettable.
Now, Robert kind of alluded to this, that there are songs in the credits. One song in particular is the pop version of Go the Distance, which is the final track on the actual CD soundtrack by Michael Bolton. Mother of God, this is bad.
I'll be there someday. I can go the distance. I will find my way. If I can be strong.
Like, Disney throughout the Renaissance made pop versions of their most popular songs to put on the soundtrack that they wanted to release as singles with celebrities, and they never really nailed it besides Elton John's Can You Feel the Love Tonight. I don't know if you have the same opinion or a differing opinion of Michael Bolton's Go the Distance, Brooklyn, but let me know what your thoughts on his version are.
His version is good, but there are better choices. And it's funny that you mentioned this at the beginning of the video.
Yeah.
When you get to the solo part of it, I actually thought this would be a great. I know it's kind of out there, but this would be a great Pink Floyd.
Yes.
Pink Floyd rendition. You get that same vibe that you get with Comfortably Numb, sort of this borderline eerie, like mysterious vibe. So yeah, I would love to see if Pink Floyd would ever do this, or in terms of a more realistic choice, I would pick Canada's very own Bryan Adams. I think he would do. I think he would do a much better rendition. He doesn't have as raspy of a voice, and I found with Michael Bolton in particular, his raspiness doesn't work when he gets to that higher vocal range.
It doesn't fit the song.
That's why I love the original in the movie, because of Roger Bart's his clean voice. It just makes the song so much better.
Yeah, so I don't actually super dislike this version of the song. I think my biggest problem is the lyric changes. They changed quite a few of the lyrics in the verses of this version of the song versus the one that we see in the movie.
They do that.
So yeah, I really preferred the original lyrics. As far as the music is concerned, I agree with Brooklyn as far as the vocal range and Michael Bolton's interpretation on that end. But I also do like how down to earth the voice kind of sounds and how the music kind of sounds. That's why I love Go the Distance so much, is it's so real. It's so grounded in my hopes and my aspirations and how realistically I can achieve them. So that's something that I do think Michael Bolton's sort of gravitas he brings to this song. So that's something that I can appreciate.
I'll give him that, but you just stuck with comparing it to the superior version in the film, and it just doesn't stack up. And the changing of the verses is fine. I mean, Elton John did it for Lion King, and it worked, probably because he wrote it. But
yeah, I thought it didn't work here.
Yeah, it doesn't work that well. Michael Bolton's version is easily a 6 out of 10. Pain and Panics for me, bar none. I would not go back to this. It's probably one of my least favorite, probably my second least favorite celebrity pop version of a Disney song ever recorded for a soundtrack, after Reflection by Christina Aguilera, which is just a mess. Alright, from Mulan. Brooklyn, what do you give Michael Bolton's version of Go the Distance?
I agree with you. I agree with you as well. It's a solid effort, but I think it could have been done a lot better by a couple of different artists. So I'm gonna give it 7 Pain and Panics out of 10.
I also had similar thoughts to what Chris was saying. I do think that there is some here to like, but I did give Michael Bolton's version of Go the Distance a 5 Pain and Panics out of 10.
Which leaves me to the last part of the show, where we are going to be ranking each song from worst to best. Rob, since I am on your camera right now, I would like to know what you rank each song. Go for it, buddy.
Sure, so starting 10 down to 1?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so as maybe a surprise to Chris, my number 10 is not the Go the Distance Michael Bolton. My number 10 is Gospel Truth 3.
Not surprised.
That's Gospel Truth 3 is number 10. Number 9 is the Go the Distance Michael Bolton single from the credits. Number 8 is Gospel Truth 2. Number 7 is the opening title Gospel Truth, Long Ago. Number 6, A Star is Born. Number 5, Zero to Hero. Number 4, One Last Hope. Number 3, Go the Distance Reprise. Number 2, I Won't Say I'm in Love. And number 1, Go the Distance.
All right. So mine's a little bit different than Robert's. For number 10, I have The Gospel Truth Part 1. and then number 9 is the Gospel Truth Part 2. Number 3 is then the Gospel Truth Part 3. And then for number 7, I have Michael Bolton's Go the Distance. And then I have A Star Is Born. Then I have One Last Hope. Then the reprise of Go the Distance. Then I Won't Say I'm in Love. Then the original Go the Distance, and then finally Zero to Hero as my number 1.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Brooklyn. For me, at the worst, I have Go the Distance by Michael Bolton. Then One Last Hope. Then I have Gospel Truth Part 3, Gospel Truth Part 2, Go the Distance reprise, Go the Distance, A Star Is Born, Zero to Hero, Gospel Truth Part 1, and then my number 1 is Won't Say I'm in Love, which is my favorite song of the entire movie, bar none. It has a great Motown vibe, and Meg just kills it. So when you average out all 3 of our scores, Brooklyn comes out to 77.5%. I come out to 84%. And Robert comes out to a staggering 72% for the soundtrack. When you average out everybody all together, total, the soundtrack is 77%, which equates to 7.7 pain and panics out of 10 total for the soundtrack.
We recommend for Hercules that you download the soundtrack.
Rob, since I'm on you right now, what are your final thoughts on Hercules?
So overall, Hercules as a movie, like I said, it's one of my favorite Disney movies. As a soundtrack, I think it's brilliant. Like I said, there are some parts here and there, specifically with some gospel truths, that I'm not the biggest fan of. But overall, I think Alan Menken does this movie's score absolute justice, and I think it has some hard hitters of just classic Disney moments.
Indeed. Brooklyn, overall, what are your thoughts on Hercules?
Hercules is definitely in terms of our generation, the millennials, I guess, definitely one of nostalgia, one that I could certainly go back to. There are some dips in the soundtrack itself, but overall a very, very solid soundtrack with some classics hidden.
Classics hidden indeed. This movie is great. This musical you should show to your kids, regardless of the flaws that we pointed out in the actual soundtrack itself. As a movie, it doesn't get much better than this in the Disney Renaissance. It's one of the absolute classics for a reason. Next week, we start our Christmas movie marathon. On December 18th, we go through The Nightmare Before Christmas with Late to the Party. On December 19th, we go through Scrooge. On December 20th, we go through Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer from Rankin Bass. On December 21st, right before Spectacular, we go through White Christmas with the great and Schmoedown competitor Bree Ann Chandler. And on December 23rd, the day before Christmas Eve, we go through The Muppet Christmas Carol. It's super exciting. Alright guys, that does it for our show, Suddenly Soundtracks, the show where we dissect a film, movie, musical, and judge it solely based on the soundtrack that it provides. I want to thank my guests, Brooklyn and Vail. Where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at TheRealBK10. You can find me on Instagram at RookieB10. You can also follow me on Jukebox Trivia, where we will be doing music trivia very similar to how the Schmoedown does theirs. I believe by the time this comes out, we will have our second matchup. Check us out on there. Follow us on Facebook at Jukebox Trivia. And if you,
Cool. Rob, where can the good people find you online?
Sure, so you can follow me on Twitter and Letterboxd at RBRTPRKR98. I know it's a dumb handle, you can get over it. You can find me on those two things. I track all my movie watching on Letterboxd, so you can check that out as well. And then, of course, you can find me on a couple reactions and things here and there on the Take 3 channel, and then also check out my movie trivia journey through this season of There Will Be Trivia over on the Worldwide Movie Games Network.
Awesome. And you can find me, Chris Clark, on Twitter and Instagram at ChrisClark8788. Those numbers mean nothing. On this show every Wednesday, you can find me either Friday or Saturday night, whatever we decide, for the complete disaster that is Family Game Night. Or you can find me on YouTube at No Man's Land Entertainment. Keep rocking, guys, from Take 3. Follow us on Take 3 on Twitter and Instagram at Take 3 Trivia. But other than that, guys, keep rocking.